Hi there! Today I'm going to show you how I draw and watercolor paint pumpkins. No better time to do this than the start of October. Basically, for my pumpkin shape, I just start off with an oval and then I draw some curved lines on each side, and basically you can just keep going with those curved lines until you get the size of pumpkin you like. I have a couple curved lines on each side of my ovals just to make the standard pumpkin here, and at the very back there's some little bumps that you can add in. We've got the stems, and now I'm adding some leaves and foliage. And here I kind of messed up, so I'm just drawing it again. And feel free to put your leaves wherever you'd like. You don't even need leaves. It's all up to you. This is your artwork. And I'm basically just showing you how I do it. So now I'm just spritzing my 4 colors that I've chosen. Here I've got olive green and a warm yellow. This is cadmium-free yellow, and a warm red, Scarlet Lake, and a cool red. This is Alizarin crimson. But you can try different colors, whichever ones that you have available to you. And I'm also using a round brush number 8 by Princeton. This one has a nice full belly and a nice fine tip for the details. So here I am just mixing up different oranges. You can experiment here. For our stems, I'm going to mix up a little mixture of green and red, which will make brown. Because as you've got 2 complementary colors, which are red and green, it will create a nice brown for you. By mixing just 4 colors within our little limited color palette, we have a very cohesive final painting. All the colors just work together and everything just seems to flow. So as I'm painting, I'm making sure to leave white space, just a thin white strip in between each of the curves of the pumpkin, so where the indentations would be. So this will define the shape of the pumpkin, you know, how it kind of bulges out in all those areas. And don't be shy with what colors you want to put in there. You don't have to make your pumpkin straight orange or a straight yellow or a straight green. Try mixing up these colors. I'm using hot press paper, so the colors don't blend as much as they might on cold press, but I really love the way hot press showcases the watercolor in the end. I just think it's so pretty. But where hot press allows the water to pool a little bit more, cold press is a little more forgiving in terms of the time it allows you to mix your colors on the page, as well as the wet on wet blends. You will get more time to pop in colors on cold press paper, and it really is just a personal preference, but my recommendation is try hot press, try cold press, try rough watercolor paper, and just see which one appeals to you most. And you might find that when you're doing landscapes, you prefer a cold press. When you're doing, say, florals or maybe something like this, you prefer hot press. That's kind of my preference, but sometimes I change things up just because I like to have something different. But try it out. I highly recommend it. It's really fun when you have that option of different papers. So I'm just popping in the leaves here, the foliage, and I'm going to start on the ground that's beneath the pumpkins. When you do your ground, make sure that you start off with a kind of a lighter wash, because we'll go back in there and we will darken it where the shadows are right under those pumpkins. And it will just give more contrast to the image and more definition. I'm going in and using the same colors that I've mixed, but I'm popping in more of that concentrated color in there so that our pumpkins are going to pop off the page a little more. So I'm shading here. I'm doing a bit of defining those curves again. And maybe I'm overdoing it, but it's completely up to you. how much detail you want to put in these. If you're looking at it right now, it looks like it doesn't really have much contrast. So keep going with the darker areas, the shaded areas. I'm going in and drawing those little fine details on the leaves. There's really no right or wrong way to do this. Just have fun, experiment. And if you don't like what you've come up with at the end, well, you know that you've learned something. I mean, I've created so many terrible paintings, or what I consider to be terrible. And half the time I trash them, but half the time I keep them because I want to be able to look back and see my progress in time and how far I've come and the decisions that I make now as opposed to the decisions I made back then. And I mean, people talk about harnessing your style or creating your own style. Well, don't worry so much about that. Don't worry about your style because believe it or not, you do have a style, even if you don't think you do. And the more you create art and the more you spend that time understanding how shapes work and the rules of composition and the rules of color and all of those things, well, you learn that stuff and it's great to learn it. But the more you practice it, it's going to become second nature. And then you're going to know how to bend those rules more and make a painting work for you. And it's going to be something that's very unique to you. Someone might look at that painting and say, aha, I can tell that you painted that. It is totally your style. You just got to keep going. You just got to keep practicing every day if you have time. I mean, as long as it brings you joy and you love doing it, find those moments in the day where you can create something. I feel like we spend so much time on screens, and the less time that we can spend on a screen and use that time for creating, it will make you feel better. You'll feel accomplished. I'm speaking from personal experience because, oh my goodness, I can get swallowed into the rabbit holes of, say, YouTube or Netflix or whatever. And it's really easy to just sit on the couch with a blanket and not have to do anything. But I try to, in those times, learn something. So if I'm sitting down and I'm relaxing, I try to learn something to do with art. And so even though that's passive learning, well, the next step is for me to get off that chair and go and create something. So that's what I recommend for you, and you won't regret it. I hope you've enjoyed painting with me. I've enjoyed painting with you. Thank you for stopping by, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful October.